Unified School District Citizens Bond Oversight Committee meeting to order. Before we call the roll, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, I'll start the roll call. John Anderson, I'm here. Joseph Camacho, I haven't heard back from him. He had requested a 90-day leave, which because to deal with some family illness issues, and I sent him an email the other day to find out whether he's needs to have that extended or whether he's coming back. Maisha Cole.
Present.
Sally DeWitt.
I'm here.
Lorraine Humes.
Here.
Jason Lindsay.
I am here.
Tom Panis.
Present.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome Tom to the CBOC. It's been a long time coming, I guess. And look forward to working with you and actually having our committee up to the minimum of the 7 members. Tom, I don't know. Do you want to give a little introduction to your background?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. I've been involved with district committees for a number of years. I was on the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee. Then I was on the CBOC, and I was chair of the CBOC. And at the end of my CBOC term, I was elected to the school board. And as of about a year ago, I'm no longer on the school board. I had an application in to get on the CBOC again because I always enjoyed the working with the people here at the facility. And I'm excited to be back here and looking forward to continuing to monitor our program.
Yep. Again, we're happy to have you. Approval of the agenda. There's only one item on the consent agenda, and that's the district's action log. Do we have any comments from the members? If not, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. The next item, public comments for items not on the agenda. I don't see any hands raised. Okay, with that, we'll move into the staff reports, bond program, project status and financial reports. I see we have Melissa and Ellen and Lewis are all here.
Yeah, so Ellen's queuing it up now and going to give us a run through.
All right, good evening, everybody. So tonight we're going to do something a little bit different. Since it's the end of the year, we thought it would be a fun time to do a update on all the projects instead of just showing construction projects, so you could see where some of our design projects also stand. So this evening I'm going to kind of run through this chart relatively quickly because we have more visual versions of the updates on these in the later slides. So the district-wide HVAC assessment, we're still evaluating the initial findings and trying to structure the best ability to bring that information forward. Kennedy and Richmond, we're doing the site-specific master plans. We had 2 batches of community meetings over the last couple of weeks. So that was fun and exciting. And after the December break, we will come back and get some focus groups in before producing the program, which is what we're trying to build, as well as the site evaluations of what's existing. For Cameron and Collins, both of those, we are anticipating DSA submission in the next week. So those are turning from design into DSA. Hercules, middle high school projects for the science labs are in design, and we anticipate going to the board for a budget adjustment come December 15th. Shannon, we are in design as well for the NPR. Riverside, site improvements. So this is the follow along work after the soil stabilization. We're going to do some additional work out in the main playground to replace some of the functions that got offset by the soil stabilization. And Korematsu's fall protection, we are still, we went back to DSA. We had comments. We are now addressing the comments. So someday I'm going to announce something really spectacular, and we're going to pretend to have champagne, but it's not tonight. E-rate projects, we are pending E-rate approval as every month until that comes through from the federal government. Lake campus replacement, we are in design there, and we're going to show some updated renderings and things from that project this evening. Riverside soil stabilization, the pad has been constructed, but we are waiting for some metal siding pieces that have been also delayed due to our global issues with getting products. So that project is sitting there waiting for its metal to be fabricated. And then Pinole Valley High School fields restoration and bleachers, we also are firmly in construction. We were very happy to get building F lime treated before the rains. And so I heard from my construction manager this morning that our pad is solid. So that is super exciting. I don't know if anybody else realizes how thrilled I am about that one, but it's really awesome. So that's the summary. Any questions here?
I have one question.
Yes.
I know that the district has been investing some money in air filters at sites. I assume, is that actually an HVAC assessment, or is that like a completely separate thing?
It's separate.
Okay.
So yes, we have upgraded air filters at the school sites. We've also invested for school sites that didn't have forced air ventilation, have a filter for those sites. And those dollars have come from the ESSER funds from the states.
Great, thank you.
Also looks like Lorraine, do you have a question?
Yes, you mentioned about your imaging for Kennedy and Richmond meetings. Are you going to do Stedge also?
Siege? At this point in time, we are still evaluating our student housing requirements, especially at our elementary schools with universal TK. I don't know if this committee is aware, but the governor has adjusted the approach to transitional kindergarten. And over the coming years, they're going to allow more and more 4-year-olds to be able to be eligible to be enrolled. And that's kind of putting a different spin on our kindergarten enrollment. So we are looking at that more in depth. We've had several meetings to discuss kind of what we're going to do about our approach to TK. So that's in the works, and until we kind of settle on how we're doing our elementary enrollment, Siege is holding.
Okay. Now, second question I have is, Ellen, in your chart under type, you say bond. Is it possible, since we're getting into R bond and C and D bond, to separate what those things are? Is that feasible? Like say bond dash R, bond-C and D or something like that.
Lorraine, we can talk about that. Some of these projects, though, commingle between funds, like D&E projects commingle dollars. But we haven't set a budget yet for that as far as their projects, but they will be defined in the financial reports.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'd like you to consider it. It's a little easier for us if it's possible to do that.
Okay. We can talk about
That's all. Yeah, that's all.
Then Jason?
Yes, good evening. Regarding the procurement problems that we're having with materials, are these materials domestic or are they foreign materials? They coming from overseas?
I'm not sure because we actually accepted a substitution on this one, just so that we could get a faster timeline. So the new product that's coming in, I'm not sure if it's domestic or foreign. But we did switch products in attempt to get something faster.
Is it safe to assume that the alternative that you accepted is of equal quality and equal longevity?
Yes, it's a pretty basic metal siding panel. So we were able to find another manufacturer that could do the same gauge, basically the same profile, the same length. That was the biggest problem, is that these are actually long span metal panels. And so it's not offered by a lot of manufacturers. And it was a special, not exactly a special order, but definitely a limited run kind of product. And so we found another manufacturer that that's able to provide the same basic material. It's just being powder coated by a separate entity instead of coming powder coated from the same manufacturer.
So it's mild steel material, or is it some sort of bright metal?
It's an exterior siding, much like you see on just your standard metal building. So
Thank you.
All right, I think that's it for the questions. So,
One more.
oh yes.
I'm just wondering if on the Kennedy and Richmond High visioning, was that strictly the school communities there? Was the CBOC invited? I wasn't on the CBOC in fact, and that organized. Was CBOC invited to participate or no?
it was open to the public. We've advertised it. We put it out there. We've talked to the CBOC has known the dates for these meetings.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so year-end update. So the district-wide HVAC, I know we've referred to that generically as district-wide, but it was actually focused on the schools that don't currently have a true air conditioning system. So that's the schools that are listed here. So these are the schools that were actually evaluated. So just wanted to give a little bit of additional information about which schools were being covered by the study. We also are looking at the electrical service because that's another component of adding air conditioning and adjusting our ventilation systems to a mechanical system versus a passive system, depending on what's in place currently. And so all of those things affect our electrical loads. So we are looking at both systems at the same time. For Richmond and Kennedy High School, site-specific master plans, like I said, we did have, and we had the first round of meetings on November 18th and 16th. We had the second round just last week. So that was a very fun process. In the meantime, though, the school sites, with the aid of the architects on one of them, have reached out to their student body. And so we've also gotten a lot of student input that's happened through the advisory period. So that was exciting. So just to go over what our process is here, the architectural team, along with their engineers, went out and were assessing the sites. that's kind of happening, that happened in the month of November and December, and we're expecting reports out in January about what the existing building conditions are, to really give us an idea of what the existing buildings are capable of or not capable of, and what's cost efficient to fix versus to replace. We are also going through visioning with the school sites. So like I said, we had our community meetings, we're reaching out to students, did a student survey at both campuses. We'll have focus groups to really sort of narrow it in as we get into January, to be able to really come up with the educational program. And that's really what we want to build. So when we understand what we have on the campus with the existing facilities, what we want to build, you bring those two things together, and that helps determine what options can be accomplished. So the option development, the architect's really going to kind of go away and do their work and come up with these options as far as what's possible, what's feasible, what makes the most sense. We will have multiple options for both campuses that will probably involve a variety of levels of rebuild versus modernization, and kind of overall design of entryway. I know at the last community meeting for both campuses, people talked about adjusting where the front of the school was and kind of the overall arrangement of buildings on the sites. Once we determine which option is the best, which would be also a community and school site process, we'll get hopefully a direction from the board that'll lead to a refinement of the selected option and an acceptance of the final option happening around the June time period. So that's our overall plan for this. The first round of community meetings was lots of fun. In both groups of community meetings, we went through a process of having a big group where we did introductions and breaking them off into smaller groups so that we were able to get the most input during these sessions. And people were also given sticky notes, so anybody who didn't want to talk could also put up their ideas. Yeah, so Dawn, do you have a question on these first two?
Not question, but comment on them. And I was not able to attend the first sessions for Kennedy or Richmond, but I did attend both of the second sessions last week. And I enjoyed being a part of it. I videotaped it, and we'll try to put all the pieces together and post them to share with people. But I found it's strange that each one of them was conducted by the architects that had been hired, and they had radically different ways of addressing the public on them. It was just interesting. Nothing wrong with either one, just radically different. But one thing that really concerned me at the Kennedy High School, when it just seemed like, I'm just going to throw a number out there, maybe 75% of the comments from the people in attendance had to do with programs at the school, things that the building itself will not really address. I mean, these are things that the school board needs to address. They're important items, don't get me wrong, but it's like you can't build a new classroom and have it affect some of the things that they were discussing on there. And and the one thing that I did not hear at any of these things, because people had a long, lengthy wish list of things they wanted to see done, is where we're going to get the money to pay for it, because we do not have an unlimited budget. We can't spend all $565 million of Measure R money on these two schools, because there are some people in the community. I got a lot of comments from people in the community, elected leaders as well, that they were promised brand new total rebuilds of both schools and in parity with Pinole Valley High School, at least as good as Pinole Valley High School. And that pretty much uses up all the available Measure R money. So what are we going to do with the other schools that are on that facilities master list? And somebody needs to be the responsible adult in the room and say, well, yeah, you want a new pair of shoes, but we just can't afford it right now. We need to be realistic early on and not necessarily give them the false hope and false illusion that they're going to tear down the brand new gymnasium at Richmond High School, the brand new health center at Richmond High School, the nearly new science building at Kennedy High School. Not going to be necessarily going to be tearing those down and rebuilding them just because they want something just as new as Pinole Valley High School. I mean, got to be realistic on these kinds of things, but it was interesting. I didn't see all that many students and parents at either one of these meetings. I saw an awful lot of staff people from Bissell Street. I saw an awful lot of teachers and administrators. Some of the administrators just showing up for brief periods of time, others participating more fully, but an awful lot of teachers that saying this is what we want in the new school, which is good because their perspective counts too. But it would have been nice to have heard from a lot more students and their parents about that. But thank you very much.
Jason?
Yes. One of the things that I notice every time I drive by Kennedy is there sure is a lot of steel gates and steel fencing and everything. The school is very closed in, and I realize the need for safety. But in recent years, a very robust topic of conversation when we talk about schools in underserved communities is the school to prison pipeline and that type of talking. And I think I'm wondering, my question is the plans for the new campus to open it up a little bit so it doesn't look so caged. I think that how a place looks, its environment is conducive to learning, and it's also conducive to the student's own mental health. If they feel like they're going to school in a cage, I mean, it doesn't really, I don't know, something to me doesn't seem right. It seems like if you're planning on doing a rebuild of any portion of the school, the openings, it should look like a school and not so caged in. I'll conclude my comment.
And Jason, that's part of the community meetings and at both facilities. You know, those are comments coming from staff, parents, students. We recognize that the openness in how the school invites you, how it meets the community is important. And so those are items we'll be looking at. And that's kind of the beauty of doing options, right? And you get to look at all different ways of handling those types of situations. So more to come.
And then Sally?
Yeah, and my comment here is that this is the way that the district has been doing the planning and funding, it seems to me, for 18 years. That is to say that you get the money and then you decide what to do with it. And, my position is that we should be having these discussions about what the school should look like, does equity look like across the district when you make the facility master plan. And then when you write a bond measure, you tie the bond measure to the facility master plan very tightly. That was not done. So you're now left with a bond measure which has very generalized language. You could pretty much say you spent it for a school, any school, pretty much doing anything, and it would be according to the bond measure. That was a mistake that the board made less than 2 years ago. My position.
All right. Moving on to Cameron School HVAC addition, and really this should be HVAC plus electrical, as I was talking about before, because we will have to upgrade the electrical service here to be able to provide this system. But really what we're doing is we are providing various units that are going to be placed to be able to serve the different rooms throughout the campus. These units will be ducted into the different larger spaces so that they can distribute air across the spaces and provide much more thermal comfort and air quality than currently is offered within this campus, which was designed originally as a passive system so that air came through the windows and then exited out of the louvers in the top in this middle section. So it was really a system designed to work all on its own without any mechanical means. But now we are bringing in not only heat, but air conditioning, and we'll add additional condensers on the outside of the building, as well as a new transformer for the electrical that will be needed to make this system run. So we've tried to condense these units either into storage spaces or other places where they're least intrusive. And then as part of this, we also need to do ADA improvements. So the restrooms over in this area are getting redone so that they are accessible and much more conducive to the program here. So it allows areas for changing and other things that are required within this building, which are currently not being serviced well in the original design of the restroom. So it's kind of an added bonus. We needed to touch them and redo them anyways. And we were also able to squeak out a storage area with space that wasn't needed for the restrooms. So all in all, it'll be a much changed environment at Cameron. And we're doing a similar approach at Collins. So Collins, we're adding heating units in the corner, or heating and air conditioning units in the corner of most of the classroom spaces, and a combination unit that will serve the administration building and some of our other support spaces. Additional condensing units will be placed outside in 2 locations to provide the refrigerant piping to service these units. But again, they will be ducted to provide additional distribution so that it's good coverage across the classroom space. And we will also bringing in additional or redoing one of the electrical services here to provide enough load for this project. So I lumped those 2 together. I don't know, Dawn or Sally, if your hands are still up, or if they, if you have comments on Collins and Cameron.
I do not. I'm not allowed to see my picture anymore, so I can't even see if my hand is up. That was been muted by the district. But I'm removing it now.
Okay. I don't know.
If you go at the bottom of your screen to reactions, it says hand up, hand down. Try that.
No, I see that, but I can't even see whether the hand is up or down because.
Oh, you don't know if it is or not. Okay.
Yeah, we see your picture, but mine is not allowed by the district anymore.
I didn't change anything. So I'm not sure why that is.
I saw Don earlier on here at
Yeah.
the very beginning.
Things change. Not a problem.
Oh,
Hercules.
Hercules. So Hercules Middle High School, we are adding science laboratories. So if we look at the big picture of the campus, the middle school is over on this side, the high school is over on this side. This is the library building behind the administration. Just behind the library is where the science building is planned to be. So there's mostly grass area here, as well as some of the middle school portables that will need to be removed to make room for this, but we're not removing any more science or rooms than we are replacing with the science building. So they won't lose capacity with this building. And so here's some 3D perspectives of what the buildings will look like. We do have this spine element that comes across the the overall building, the spine is planned to have a wind turbine in it, and it is at an angle that goes perpendicular to the prevailing winds. So we've built in various little science aspects to the building. So there's going to be a sundial that's inlaid in one of the quad spaces, the wind turbine. There'll be other little pieces and parts. The scoring for part of the walkway will be at meter length so that they can use it to measure different experiments that they do. So kind of some fun little design elements that will be added to the building to really make the science building not only a great learning environment, but have fun tools to help students grasp some of the scientific concepts. It looks like we've got 2 hands up here. Don?
The wind turbine, is that ornamental or does it serve a function? Does it generate electricity or for
It
just
will.
for science projects or?
It will generate electricity. And then that electricity can be demarcated so that students can use it as part of whatever process that they're working on, whether they are understanding the change between the generation rates and the wind speeds, or doing any sort of calculations along those lines. Those things can all be known as part of this project.
That all sounds great. Are we budgeting in the lawsuits by the Audubon Society and the Save the Birds societies, whatever those things are?
I don't know, our owl seems pretty happy with it. We will have to look into that aspect. Jason?
Don, it's not the Audubon Society anymore. I don't know what the new name is, but it's not going to be that. Anyways, I'm just curious, all these new buildings, are they getting rooftop solar incorporated in them as a means of power supply?
We are not doing rooftop solar here. This building is going in adjacent to solar that is already mounted on top of the parking garage. And so that's part of the reason we didn't pursue it in the building itself. I know, Louis, before there's been additional concerns when we mount, anytime we put anything additional on the roof, it is an opportunity for water infiltration. So if there's other places that we can provide solar to meet the needs of our sustainability goals, we'd prefer to do those.
No, I think you kind of covered it, but Hercules is a site that already has its solar arrays in place on that campus. And it's not in the budget to add solar to these buildings, this new building.
And I'm just curious if the solar that is there is adequate to provide the energy needs of the new structure.
Well, the solar panels that are there already do not generate 100% of the needs of the school site. They're designed such they meet the financial requirements where that economy of scale matches against the cost of energy. So typically you would not design a system that would meet 100% of your demand.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. So at Shannon Elementary School, we have the multi-purpose room building. Again, we're starting off with the site plan just to denote where this is. So these are the 2 main classroom wings. They're in the administration office is right here. The current NPR portable is right here. So this is getting built behind and having much more of a strong connection to the playground space. It will add additional service area, and we have to connect in a fire lane around it. but we did try to minimize as much site impact as we could while keeping the existing NPR in place while we're under construction so that we do not need to spend additional dollars on temporary facilities. The overall design of this building is relatively simple in form, but provides a lot of great natural daylight. We are also planning on including some of the operable garage doors to allow both indoor and outdoor use of the space and expand the ability for the school to host events and not be restricted to just the size of the building itself, as well as entrances for students to get in facing the school side. This faces the playground, the side with kitchen. So we will definitely get a lot of fun natural light into this space and be able to have a really different experience than their current NPR portable that has 2 windows, very low ceiling space, not a real kitchen, not a real stage. So this will be a much different experience than currently on that campus.
We have one comment on Hercules in the chat.
Oh, in the chat, sorry. Were students on both sides consulted when developing the plans? We had students involved in the Hercules design. We did not have students involved in the multi-purpose room design. We did have focus groups with the school site that included teachers and parents, but not the elementary students. Okay, anything else? Riverside playground restoration, but that doesn't mean we couldn't have student input, especially when we get to the color scheme. Would be a great place to get student input. It's just the NPR is a relatively simple building. There's not a lot of design components to it. At Riverside, we are doing we displaced when we did the soil stabilization project, the kindergarten playground. So we are actually reestablishing it on the other side of the building. This will provide a larger area, a more consolidated, larger area versus being interrupted by the covered walkways, which was an issue. And it also allows multiple classrooms to be able to access this space. So we are formally establishing a kindergarten play area and separating the primary grades from the upper grade play lot. That involves 2 play structures. We're establishing a garden and a shade structure as part of this this design. We are also restriping the full blacktop area. So we'll have a fresh coat of paint when we are done. And this will really finish off making sure that we have all of the elements that were present before we started the soil stabilization project. Lake Elementary School, we are moving along. DDs was submitted to the district at the beginning of December. And so we have started, we did an extensive review with our maintenance and grounds and custodial groups and IT and nutrition to be able to make sure that we were on the right path before we moved into construction documents. We've also had focus groups and community meetings throughout this process to be able to get input from the user groups about the design in total. For the most part, the design of the site has not changed much from the bridging documents. The major adjustment was in the kindergarten complex. So because of the universal TK change that came forward, we did add additional TK classrooms to this design so that we'll be prepared to meet that requirement. So you'll notice in this corner, this is our kindergarten corner. It has adjusted, the buildings have become larger, and that's really to get the additional kindergarten classrooms in place. We still have our administration library here, our 1 through 6 classrooms here in PR. And then here you just see the evacuation plan, because that was the cleanest copy of the site plan I could get for you. We are in design development, so the plans stop being pretty and start getting pretty complicated, and a lot of the call outs and things are getting filled in. Here is the example of the elevations for the administration building. So again, continuing on with the design that we've seen before, really developing the butterfly canopies. And so we've got a lot of fun angular forms going on in this design to give life to the space, which, you know, was derived from these elements that we saw during the proposal stage, and have reviewed with the campus and community. So this is the further development of the renderings. So this was from the proposal. This is now where we are with our interiors. So things are moving along, but they're maintaining the same elements that we have talked about as we've moved through the process, just refining pieces and parts and getting feedback of how we can make it even better. This is the current floor plan for the classroom, one of the classroom wings. An additional change that we've implemented in this is gender neutral toilets for the classroom spaces. So out on the play yard, we have the traditional boy and girl restrooms, as well as in the NPR, but in the classroom wings, we have gender neutral toilets, which allow students to access individual toilet rooms and then have joint hand washing facilities outside of those individual rooms. So each one of the individual toilet rooms wouldn't be labeled as boy or girl, but welcome for anyone to use. Oops, did I go the wrong direction? Oh no, this is the second Riverside. So that was it for Lake. It looks like Don.
Thank you. With regards to these toilet rooms, can you explain to us what rooms would have those facilities? I mean, I'm betting it's not every classroom, am I correct?
No, it's where the boys and girls restroom, multi-user restroom was. So there's only one group of toilet rooms per classroom wing, which was before a boys and a girls multi-user restroom, and now it is a gender neutral version of it. So we actually technically reduced the number of fixtures total that we're providing.
That
But
always works out well, doesn't it?
well, it's mostly because the urinals are no longer there.
I'm sorry, but this is a little going off to the side, but don't some of the classrooms have their own rooms, like kindergarten or something like that?
Yes, absolutely. Our kindergarten, TK, and preschool all have toilet rooms directly off of the classroom space.
Thank you very much.
Mhm. Okay, moving on to Riverside Elementary School soil stabilization. So this was the project we were talking about. Soil stabilization is well done and completed, but we still have the trash enclosure, always my favorite project. So we have the pad. This was the reinforcement for the pad. It has now been poured along with the apron. So we have our stub ups for our steel connections. They are sitting there waiting for our steel to arrive. And as soon as it does, we will install and be complete with this project. For Pinole Valley Fields project, we have the upper plateau, which is where our basketball and volleyball courts are going. Basketball and tennis courts are going. We have the fence posts and the footings begun for the retaining wall that go along this edge. The utilities and base are in here. So the utilities have been installed, the base rock has been laid. And here's these are the fence posts and the beginnings of the footings. The footing was poured just before the rains, so that was a huge push. They were on site late into the evening on Saturday to get everything ready for the rains so that we were in good shape and didn't need to clean them out again before with additional water. As for the field house pad, that's this one right here. It extends up to the home bleacher section. We did get this fully lime treated before the rains came, which was also a big push. Over in the softball baseball field area, there was this big pile of miscellaneous rocks and soil that has been off-hauled, which is our next picture. So for almost a week and a half, we had trucks coming through and off-hauling unnecessary rock and soil. But now we're getting down to subgrade, which will allow us to prep this area as well for lime treat. However, we will have to wait until it dries out. And so then we have our construction newsletters and our status reports. And then we're off to financials. Unless there's any other, oh, Don has a question.
Sorry to be hogging everything, but you mentioned the retaining wall between the hillside and the basketball courts. It just prompted me to ask about the comments we've been hearing at some of the board meetings and on social media in particular about slippage of the hillside that is damaging some of the homes above. And of course, they're blaming the school district on this for poor design of the hillside and the retaining walls and such. Do you have any comments on that?
Not really, Don. I mean, we do have a retaining wall we're putting in. It's a small retaining wall. It's at the back of the tennis courts. I think you saw that in the picture of the area we're working on. But other than that, no.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds to be something more extensive than the small retaining wall that you're addressing here. That's something from the original design. I know that that's one of the things that delayed the rebuilding of the school a decade back was that hillside and being able to stabilize it. And it sounds like it's not as stable as everybody would hope it would be.
I mean, I think there's a lot of history with the hills behind Pinole Valley High in general, their overall stability, and slide, and they're built. I mean, the hills have a history of having slides with them. The district has stabilized a portion of a prior slide back in the 80s when the main campus was built. But we're very diligent in how we look at that and how we put together our new facilities to make sure we're not trying to impact any of our neighbors.
Thank you.
Okay, Melissa, were you able to join us tonight to do the financials?
Yeah, I can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, terrific. Well, good evening, everyone. I apologize for not being able to join you this evening. We have our monthly suite of reports here, and I have a couple of highlights for this evening. Ellen, if you could jump to page 57. So as she's kind of pushing forward, you see here the consolidated budget status report, the first one, of course, being the entire program. and the one in green really highlighting the 2016 Facilities Master Plan. But one of the first things I really want to highlight tonight, it's good news, surprising news, is our Helms Middle School Modernization application, which we had estimated we'd be looking at sometime in the year of 2023. We've received our 90-day letter from OPSC, which is fantastic and means that we're going to be going through the review process with OPSC. This projected amount of 4.1 million could go up, it could go down. So we'll be working closely with the state on this application and hopefully see some additional dollars come forward to the district here sooner than anticipated. In anticipation of tonight's meeting, I actually went back to look, and since our 2016 Facilities Master Plan, our district has received $42.8 million from the state in these applications, and adding the Helms Modernization application to that list will bring in another potential $4 million, which will be wonderful because it really helps our program continue to go even further. On the next page, page 58, I did want to bring to everyone's attention. So this is part of our report 13, and what it does is it identifies what the original 2016 Facility Master Plan rough order of magnitude budgets were for all of the items, which had totaled to that 181. And then you see in the following column the current budget. And so you're able to see here in this other column budget increases or decreases over time. For those of you that are less familiar, when we complete a project and the financial reconciliation of a project, we may be returning dollars, and at points during the project, we may be coming forward and asking for additional project dollars. And so this really supports that front page and gives you kind of that detail. And the reason why I bring this up is at the board meeting on Wednesday, staff is making a recommendation to the board and asking that they increase the Hercules budget by $5 million. The current Hercules project, which Ellen had highlighted, is a singular science building that will be housing the labs for both the Hercules Middle School and the Hercules High School. And so when you put those two budgets together, you get 14.7 million. So given the current 2016 Facility Master Plan budget of 14.7 million, we anticipate that we would be able to provide 6 labs. Currently at Hercules Middle School and Hercules High School, they each have 4 teachers and have 4 full-time science teachers, and therefore a need for science classrooms, 4 for the middle school, 4 for the high school. And so we're at the stage in the project where we need to determine either move forward with the budget that we have, and then we would not be able to provide enough labs for the number of teachers and students in those science programs, which would really provide kind of equity, or increase the budget such that we'd be able to do an additional middle school lab and additional high school lab. So that would be a total of 8 labs, 4 for the middle school, 4 for the high school, which would really match the current need. Also, in looking at the future demographic projections, it's anticipated that there are 300 additional students in the Hercules feeder pattern over the next 10 years. So it's another reason why we think it's really important to bring this recommendation forward to the board and really seek their approval or really their determination to continue the course as is. And so that will be coming forward to the board on Wednesday. One of the ways that we offset these project budget increases is really in our aggressive approach to continue to solicit additional state dollars. So as I had mentioned, since the 2016 Facilities Master Plan, we've received over $42.8 million from the state. This is really a state matching share of local bond dollars that have been spent on the other projects that we've built. We really look to those additional state dollars to help really augment the budgets. And so this item will be coming forward to the board on Wednesday. We really wanted to bring that to your attention this evening.
And I think just one more thing on that item that Melissa's talking about, the Hercules Science Buildings. And it's key just to remember that the Hercules facilities, a lot of their facilities are actually portable buildings. It was built at a time when the state required a school district to build less than their total capacity to provide some capacity in portables. So if you ever wondered why Hercules has so many portables, it's because that's the way state funded schools back in the 80s, that they required you to have a certain percentage of your capacity into portables. And that's how they would allow for, expansion or contraction of a school with portables. So portable lifespan is 20 years, and we tend to stretch that even further. And this is a way to replace those portable science buildings with a permanent structure that's a 50-year structure that would be that would be modern, would be equitable with other schools, and provide the science labs that they deserve.
And one other piece of clarification, just because I know it's a hot topic in Hercules, we definitely heard from the community and the school sites that they wanted a strong separation between the middle school and high school, which is achieved through this design. So even though we keep referring to it as the high school, middle school science lab building, it is one building, but it is specifically designed to face two directions and provide two different science programs to each one of the facility or each one of the programs and campuses. Lorraine?
Yes. If I understand you right, you said that with the 6 labs, the budget was 14.7 million. And you're going to add 2 labs and it's going to cost 5 million? I must have misunderstood something there.
Well, you're correct. I mean, the budget is 14.7, and what we can produce, what we can build for 14.7 is about 6 science classrooms. To add the additional facilities, it is roughly another $5 million to support that additional construction.
The other piece that's in there that we would have had to forego if we do not have the additional funding is that the existing science labs, which are basically the size of regular classrooms for the most part, except for one on each campus, have built-in cabinetry that make it very difficult to utilize because the built-in cabinetry was really designed for 24 students. And unfortunately, our class sizes are not 24 students. So it makes it extremely difficult to use those rooms. And so one of the things we were also doing as part of this project was to go back into those rooms and remove the built-in lab tables that really restrict these spaces from being able to accommodate a full-size class. And that is something that will also ease some of the capacity issues on the campus, because while they have technically a classroom size space, it is extremely difficult to utilize as a general classroom. So that's another component of the cost that probably won't fit into the budget if we do not get the budget expansion.
So you're doing more than just adding the 2 labs. You're adjusting the classroom that was into a new lab, or what? I don't understand. Why is it so much more for 2 labs?
It's the cost, Lorraine, is, there's more that goes with it, right? There are labs, there's plumbing, there's all types of things that go with it. So, this is the way it's estimated out. It's even at the 14.7, it's very tight to build 6, so you can't say it's all the 5 million is exactly poured into just like 2 classrooms, but it is spread out across the entire.
Okay.
So the
Alright.
last kind of highlight that I wanted to bring to you this evening is actually on the next page. So we're going to head to our monthly financial impact report. And Ellen, if you could try to make that just a little bit bigger. I know it can be hard to see, but we do have a couple of updates this month. So you can see that our burn rate was just over $2 million. We've also accounted for the first quarter interest earnings. And the other thing, while it does seem like a small amount of money, I think it really demonstrates that we really are trying to do everything that we can to maximize every bond dollar that we have. We did have an opportunity this year where there were some dollars for the reimbursement of kitchen equipment cost. And so we spent about $265,000 on the Michelle Obama kitchen equipment. And so we were able to take advantage of those dollars that were specifically for kitchen equipment replacement. And since we did that as part of the Michelle Obama build, we were able to go ahead and get those dollars basically reimbursed. And so those are additional dollars that we have now for the bond program. And so really wanted to highlight those items for you this evening. We have our other traditional reports that are in there as well. And so if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Yes, Lorraine?
Yeah, Melissa, on your report 13, on the front page, you talk about projected cash balance for June, and you have a statement under there. It's page 1 of 4 on your financial reports. Do you want to go to it?
Is it backwards or forwards?
Yeah, so Miss Ellen, you're going to want to go to page 55 in the packet.
Oh, see, I was almost there. Oh, no, I passed it. There we go.
Okay.
No.
I
it's
think
a-
55, page 55. Is that what you're looking for?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
You see down here, the statement projected cash balance. What does that statement underneath mean?
So one of the things that we have always identified, and this was one of the stylistic things requested really in the report, is that we identify the cost of issuance. And so you can see up above under projected revenues, the second item
Yes,
is the cost of issuance.
right.
Well, the reason why we've added that note is really because we have some absolute whizzes on our CBOC that also join us in our reconciliation of our reports. And so this cost of issuance is actually included there, as well as it's included in our board approved budget under our central cost. And so it's in the numbers twice, but one of the things that we've always committed to doing is indicating the cost of issuance separately so that that could be seen. And so we budget the cost of issuance as part of our central costs. Our central costs include all of those types of things. And so it's reflected twice. But because it's been asked that it be specifically called out, we have it there so that it can be seen.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is down below, you have items pending board approval. And it looks like you're going to be asking for 275 million bonds to be sold. Since our CBO is on leave, who's going to be in charge of that?
So one of the really great things that was described at a CBOC meeting, Ellen, if you could back out of this page just ever so slightly. So there's this term above the line and below the line. So one of the things that you'll notice is on report 13 that the cash projection only goes till June of 2023.
Right.
And so everything that you see that leads you to the projected cash balance at June of 2023 is what we would say is above the line.
Yeah.
So what you see that's below the line are items that aren't anticipated or reflected through June of 2023. So they would be taking place after that. So they're below the line. So the state facility grants that are pending state approval, we are currently anticipating that we would see those dollars after June of 2023. And our item pending board approval would be that the bond sale of Measure R for 275 million would be after June of 2023.
Oh.
So you still know that those things are there because of course we're projecting multi-year, but you don't see them reflected in the items above because they're below the line. So they're after that June 2023 date.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
I'd like to shout out to a CBOC member and then a couple who would refer to things as above the line and below the line. And I think it just really helps with this page, really kind of set the stage. So we've now kind of affectionately adopted it.
Good. And I have another question in on your AP checklist.
Absolutely. So Miss Ellen, that's going to be page 62 in the packet.
Yep, I was there and then it went away. There we go.
Yeah. Now, I'm interested in the Riverside,
Okay.
the 187,803.68 for their soil stabilization. You see that?
Yeah,
Now, when I look on the status report for Riverside, now you see that that's 187. Well, let's go back to the status report for that school. I think it's above the financials.
yeah,
Yes, it is.
too far. Riverside.
Sorry, Helen. Or Helen.
It's okay. I got
Now,
this.
where would I see that 187 million? Where would that be on this page at all?
So it's 187,000.
Or
And so
1,000, I'm
that
sorry.
is the amount that was paid to Ovra, who is our design builder. So on the project status report, Ms. Ellen, if you could scroll down just a little bit, you're going to look here towards the bottom of your contract summary where it says completed and stored build to date. So you can see that for the Ovra contract, they have billed 1.9 million, which represents 68% of the contract value. And so on your AP checklist, the 187,000 is the monthly progress billing that they made to the district for the work performed that month. And that is included in the 1.9 million.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good.
Okay, and then Tom had a question also.
Yes, I think it's page 53. It's the consolidated budget status report in section entitled 2016 Master Plan Project.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just wondering here, and this is as much a question for the CBOC as for the staff. And it makes sense to expand this report so it includes Measure R projects and as things come online, like Richmond High School, Kennedy High School, Steve, to include them on here as well, perhaps with a notation like funded by, just like on the R or something. I don't know. I don't know if the staff has comments about that. Maybe it's going to be a separate idea the CBOC needs to take up to request this specifically, but to me, it would make sense on this report to include them.
Yeah, so Kennedy and Richmond are already on there from the critical needs project.
Yeah.
So as we approve a budget for them in Measure R, then they will show up on here.
They will show up. And maybe it's like with the, I don't know if it makes sense to change the title a little bit or not, but
It's something we could talk about, sure.
yeah, okay. Thank you.
And then Lorraine, I think, or I mean, sorry, Sally, your hand went up.
Yeah, I want to comment. I think Louise answered the question pretty clearly, but none of these reports should be viewed as source of funds specific. They're the master plan specific. And where, no matter where the funds come from, I mean, there's funds that come from the state, there's funds that come from various bonds, but this is the master plan. Unfortunately, it's not 100% comprehensive, but that's a separate matter. It's almost comprehensive. Anyway, it's not source of fund specific. Not tied to Measure R, not tied to Measure It's master plan.
And I mean, all of the work that we're doing right now with the HVAC assessments, as well as the site master planning for Richmond and Kennedy, all of that's leading us to getting an update to the district-wide facility master plan. It's what we're working on.
And I believe that concludes the financial reports, unless there's anything else.
Right, well, thank you. With that, we'll get back to our agenda. The first item is the consent item. We have one item, and that's approved by unanimous consent. And now we'll get into the other major topic of tonight, and that is the annual report. Lorraine, I'll let you take over
Okay.
in this section.
Yes. That's, yeah, here we go. On the annual report, I have mailed it to everyone, and I asked them to look over it. I suggested that you go through the executive summary if you have any further, want more details to go into the report itself and the appendices. And I also suggested some other areas where you could look to find information in previous annual reports. Do we have any questions about the report at this time? Because we will be voting to approve it, or remember on the agenda, it gives you 4 possible votes that you could take. Yeah, keep going, down, 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 down. Keep going.
Next page.
Down. Keep going.
There we go.
There you go. You see these 4 under C. These are the 4 choices you would have. Is there anyone who has any questions about the report, any comments on it, would like to add any amendments to it, etc.? Okay, I take that as there are no comments on it. John, do you want to lead in? Do we vote on it now, or do you want me to go to?
Yes, I need a motion from the floor to approve the CBOC 2020 annual report. So do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the report.
Tom, I have a second.
I'll second.
Okay. With that, we'll go around for an individual vote. I vote yes. Lorraine,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Jason,
Aye.
Aisha,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
and I don't think I've forgotten anybody. So with that, we have 6 votes in favor.
And
Go
would
ahead.
you put in the notes that was 6 positives and 1 was absent?
Yeah, 1 absent.
Yeah.
One no votes. So the report is approved.
Very good.
Yeah, Lorraine, do we have ever, my impression was we have a lot of the editorial things taken care of between you and Maisha.
Yes, well, yeah, and I would at this time like to thank people who helped with the report. We were sort of in a bind because we were between people who had written the report for a couple years off the committee and people who could help with the report not on the committee yet. So it cut our numbers down to people who could contribute. And I would like to thank John and Sally and Don helped out, and Maisha helped with the appendices and formatting. She did a great job on formatting it. Thank you very much. And I'd also like to thank, one of the ways we solved this problem was that we did have people in the public who had worked on an annual report before and chapters in the annual report. So we asked them to comment during the comment period as members of the public. So I would like to thank Anton and Tom Panis, and the staff did a great job in giving us suggestions. So it was a group effort, and I'd just like to thank anybody who helped out with it. That brings me down to the next one, part D, the distribution of the annual report. We usually just post the annual report, and I believe last year, I don't know if it's normal, but Sally wrote a press release. But we finish it up at different times. The AR-19, because of the pandemic, came in December. Ours came in December because of the lack of worker bees, and they come out different times of the year. Now the public doesn't know to go there in April, and it's going to be there. So they'd have to come back each month to see if they can do it. So I would like to see us distribute it to the stakeholders, because the whole point of the report is to let the public know our findings. So I added in the report, there's a distribution list. If we could go to that, it's
one of the attachments to the minutes.
Yeah, what do you know what
Near the
page?
back. There you go.
Yeah. So these are the type of people that I thought. Now, this is my thinking. If you have anyone you want to add, one would be the city councils, because the cities are the ones that are paying taxes for the buildings. The county supervisors. Now, El Sobrante does not have a city council. The supervisors oversee that, as a city council would. And also to the supervisors there. Hercules is District 5, and District 1, all the other cities go to it. There's a California representatives for the West County, our senator and our representative, House of Representative, I guess you'd call it. The Department of General Services has an office of school construction. There doesn't seem to be anybody in the state where you can send your stuff, so I thought we'd try sending it there. To the district's PTA presidents, to do a press release with East Bay Times, EdSource. I also think I forgot to add the patches in the area. And like Don's got Free Richmond and places like that, where we could do a press release there so they know it's out and it's on our website. Hard copies to put in the public libraries and ask them if they would distribute it. At the school board meetings, ask the school board if they would distribute it. The copies that we'd be sending off, I proposed, would be the executive summary and the table of contents, and then give them a link in that so that they can come to the website if they want to see the total report. But that sort of gives them a feeling of what's in it. So that's just a suggestion Do we vote on that if they want to do it or not, John?
We also have a couple comments or hands raised.
Oh, good.
Oh, yeah, we need to get those. Sally?
Well, I said this the last time, but I want to reiterate it because Lorraine is so modest. And she gave a lot of credit to a lot of people that did help, and that's true that they helped. But Lorraine, you really lifted about, what would you say, John? 50%?
Oh, more,
60?
60.
Yeah, 60, 70% of this thing. So the whole CBOC owes a huge debt of gratitude to Lorraine, because this would not have happened without her. And I think you put a great list of stakeholders together, and I really applaud, after all the work that you did, your continued energy and enthusiasm for getting this report out there. And I hope that we have members on our committee in the future that will participate wholeheartedly in this process, because this is the task for the Bond Oversight Committee. By state law, we're organized in order to make a report to the public. This is it. This is the game. So if we want to be on the team, we have to play the game. That's my message. Thank you,
Thank
Lorraine.
you. Thank you.
Don?
Thank you very much. And I too appreciate all the work and effort that everybody put into putting in this report. I said, things never just happen on their own. Somebody has to make them happen. But just as a point here, so on this distribution list, you happen to mention El Sobrani, pointing out it has no city council. You've actually got 8 unincorporated areas in West County.
Okay.
Okay, not just El Sobrani. You got Kensington, you got Terra Hills, you got North Richmond and East Richmond, Rollingwood, and others. You got 8 of them there. 8, and many of them have municipal advisory committees that similar to a city council. But previously, before you took your vote, just as a matter of record, typically you allow the public for public comment before the elected body actually makes a vote. That way, if in case we've got some comment that is pertinent or relevant, it might affect the vote. That's not the case with me this time. Don't get me wrong. But you just went straight from presentation to vote with no discussion by the public. Thank you.
Well, they did have a chance to comment during the comment period.
No, we're talking right now on the motion. You had 4 options presented up here. And this is a public meeting.
Yeah.
And the public has the right to comment before the vote. That is part of the Brown Act that you and I discussed earlier today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it would be like the public, like, in other words, you would be considered the public that we would ask, are there any public comments at the meeting, or do we have to put it out for them to mail it in, or what?
No, at the meeting itself.
Okay, good.
Everything is being, every motion that is made is supposed to have an opportunity for the public to comment. Every agenda item is supposed to have an opportunity for the public to comment on it.
Oh, thank you for that. That's why you're invaluable. You know all this stuff. Thank you, Don.
And then we also had Tom.
Yes, I'd just like to echo particularly what Sally said. I've worked at times on this report. She asked me to weigh in on this. And I have to say that Lorraine did it tremendously. Boy, she was really industrious, and this long. It took a long time to get it out, but we're all tied up in so many things, and I don't hold that against her anyway. I was kept seeing progress and progress and progress, and Lorraine did a great job on it. I want to go on that.
Thank you. Well, shall I move on to the next item then?
Yes, I think I see this, Lorraine. You and I can kind of sort this list out and maybe get some help from staff in terms of getting it distributed.
Do we need a vote when we distribute it next, since they're aware of, the committee's aware of the types of places we're sending it?
I don't really see a reason for that.
Okay.
It's really just informational,
Mhm.
making sure that we're getting our work products out there.
Sounds good.
Now let's go on to the next item, which is we discussed at the last meeting, and we have actually that's the item relative to the 2021 annual report and beyond. And I guess I'll let you recap that. And you did draft a resolution for us to consider tonight.
Yeah.
On this item.
Right. Well, we had talked last time about aligning it with the district's reports, and the district's reports are all around their fiscal year, which goes from July 1st of, say, 20 to June 30th of 21. And we do it, our report goes from January 1st of 21 to December 31st of 21. So it would be, and they have to adjust certain reports they give us because of that. And I looked through the different annual reports, and it seemed like since 2015, we've done it that way, but nobody knows why we did it that way. And we don't see any great benefit in it when we were discussing it. So I would suggest to align it with the district's reports. Now in number 2 under the resolution, is that to do that, we would have our AR 21 go from January 1st, because that was our original starting date, to June 30th of 21. And then 9 months later, after the audits are giving their report, we would put out our report. And on number 3, it should be our report would the report would come out in 22, so that instead of June 20 there, see, I see on number 3, I said not in, so that not include 21 annual report and financial performance reports, which end in 2021 instead of 2020 there. And then we would bring out the report in our next annual report, which would deal with 22. So this is, do I have to have an amendment to change that date from 21 to 22? Or?
Yes, you need an amendment for that.
All right, can I make that amendment?
Go ahead.
All right, I'd like to amend item resolution number 3 to say ending June 30th, 2021. And that's it then.
Any discussion?
This is Tom. I'd actually like to propose a slightly different approach here.
I can't hear you, Tom.
Yeah.
I would like to propose a slightly different approach for a couple of reasons. First of all, we absolutely need to get lined up with the district reports. That's going to save everybody paying over time. But we're at 7 people right now. I'm going to do a report on 6 months. I'm actually wondering if it makes more sense, and this is for the committee, not me to decide, whether we should do a report for 18 months rather than 6 months.
I'm sorry, Tom, I can't hear you. It's that mask, the darn mask.
So Tom was proposing that you extend the annual report period to 18 months instead of 6 months, trying to report out between January 1, 2022 to June 30, 2022. Is there enough information there, or should it be extended for 18 months for the first report.
Oh, and then following that, we would be in sync with the district's fiscal year. Is that what you're saying, Tom?
So let me read what Tom was suggesting for under the resolve bullet 2, brings its reporting period in alignment by having the annual report cover the 18-month period from January 1, 2021 to June 30, 2022, with a target date to approve by June 30, 2022. By November 30, I'm sorry, 2022.
Okay.
And then bullet 3.
And then bullet 3 would strike out the not include in its 2021 annual report, the financial and performance audits ending June 30, 2020, strike that out, and would read that a report on the results of the June 30, 2021 financial and performance audits be approved by June 30, 2022.
Okay. Okay. And the reasoning is that since we do not have many people in the committee, that it would give us more time to get the report together. Is that it?
Absolutely. And then we get, I think, the particularly in the item number 3, we get the approval of the 2 audits more close to the date that they're actually produced.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
that would be right, could be by separate motion as opposed to part of the report.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Kelly,
Okay, so I think I followed what you're saying, but I'm wondering if we're going to be missing a report and therefore out of compliance with Proposition 39, which says that we should issue a report every year. So I think what I heard you say was number 2, bring the reporting periods in alignment and having the CBOC 2021 or 2 annual report cover the period January 1 to 2021, January 1 of this year to June 30th to 2022. And that would be an 18-month period. So is that a fiscal year that's referred to as 2021 or 2022? That's just a point of information. I'm not sure. Is it? I think it would be 2022.
I mean,
I think the report that ends in June 30th, 2022 would be a 2022 report. Am I right about that?
Well, I think normally when an audit report is issued for a period other than a year, it explicitly explains that in the title of the report. I'd say transitional period or long period covering the 18-month beginning and ending, as opposed to a year. And you make an interesting point about Proposition 39, but boy, I just like doing all this work for 6 months to me just seems like, wow.
Well, it could be a one-pager.
Well, and what I was thinking is a lot of the history that we put in this thing that we just carry over is not, you can
Carried
drop
over.
that out of the report. You could just do like Sally says, make it a short report.
More like an explanation. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, but that aside, I am asking the question, is the ending report year, the June 30th, 2022, is that the 2022 annual report? Or because it starts in 21, ends in 22, that's why I'm asking, is it the start or the end year date?
End year date.
The end year date, okay. So we'd be missing a 2021 report, which I agree that it's probably okay to to handle that in some fashion so that we're not out of compliance. But the other thing to say is something that Lorraine just brought up, which is that we archive various parts of this story, like the FAI report and what is finished, and the facility master plan and what is planned and what's done and things like that. I mean, that's the idea. And we've been fairly careful to do that for the last 5 or 6 years and make sure that we've got those types of reports archived within the annual report. So I just don't want to get out of step with that too much. I think it can be handled, but I think we have to be careful of that.
Okay, Don?
If the issue of being in compliance with Prop 39 is with regards to having a report every year is important, I think it's a legitimate question. How hard is it to draft a quick letter or make a phone call to Sacramento and ask, how should we approach this? That way you get something with a seal of approval on their letterhead that says, okay, nobody's going to jail today. I mean, I'm joking around, but I'm also being serious. It's not that hard to do it, to be in compliance. It doesn't mean you can't start on the next annual report now while you're waiting for that response. But I doubt that it would take 6 months or 18 months to get a response back. Thanks.
The other thought I had was, if you go ahead with the amended version of what Lorraine, I would just change that date in item 3. I look at it as you're basically using the information, financial information at that point in time. When you write that report, or finalize and vote on it, it may very well be at this time next year, or November, or October. So I just don't see that I look at it as more of a data point as to what you're writing the 2021 report on. You're writing it on the fiscal information that's, for the fiscal period ending June 30th of next year.
It's true too. You get your report out when you get it out.
Right, but that's really, like I said, it's the data point, the data point that you're looking at, rather than the overall timing, which is
another thing I was thinking is that our compliance statement, which goes in our annual report, if we are not going to wait for the 21 performance evaluation, we can only put 2 items in that. We can only do A and B, because we can't say that there was a performance audit done and a financial audit done. Would that mess anything up?
No, we would just say it. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
That's
And then we
compliance.
could include those in the next one,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know last time when we tried to get it out earlier, we thought, well, we'll start on January 1st, writing it. And then it'll be done by March 31st, when they give the report. And I think that could have been done if we had people working on it. And I think it still can be done. And because you don't need anybody to look at the audit, and just go from there. But I like what John said about it's just the data collecting date. Any other comments?
Anton.
Thank you, John. I agree with John in regards to it requires an annual report. You would have a 2021 annual report, which you now have approved. You would also have a 2022 annual report. So I think you would meet that requirement. In regards to Don's comment, I don't know, I'm not aware of anybody at the state you could ask this question to, because there's nobody at the state that monitors CBOCs. what I like about Tom's proposal is in terms of the getting out the report on the audit report, because the audit report is required to be out by March 31. Under his proposal, you get that out within 3 months after the audit report is out. And the value of that is that you then could include the district's responses to the audit findings, if any, in that report. So I think that would be very useful. Right now, you're getting your report out on the 20 audit almost a year after the audit came out. So I think what Tom is proposing gets that out within 3 months after the audit and has the option of including the responses from the districts to the audit findings.
Yeah.
Technical question. I mean, if I took a picture of the report and emailed it to Ellen, could we get it up on this, on my revised resolution, get it up on the screen?
I'll just,
Let's scan.
I didn't get that, Tom. Are you have an alternative? Are you going to have Ellen put up an alternative resolution?
I just thought I would have Ellen display the revisions to the resolution points 2 and 3 that I'm proposing.
Good.
So board members see them rather than just hear them.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
So Lewis is scanning it, and as soon as it's scanned, it can come to me and I will pop it up.
And that could be in the form of an amendment, right? Good. Do you want to go on to something else, or shall we?
Well, the next item is officers, which kind of changes the,
Before you go there, could I address something here, please?
yes, sir.
Okay, this is just a housekeeping thing, but the link that is provided in this agenda packet to the annual report.
Yeah.
It takes us to a page on how to open documents in Google Drive or do Google Docs. It has nothing to do with the actual audit or I mean, our annual report. Yeah, it's a dead link, but it's if you copy and paste it, it still takes you to nowhere of any value. Same thing with on page 1, where you've got the link to this meeting. It's a dead link. Perhaps when we send out agendas and agenda packets, we can make sure that the links are hot links, they're live links, so that the public can actually have access to the same things that you all have access to. Another little Brown Act issue, transparency, nothing secret, behind closed doors kind of stuff. Hint, hint. Thank you.
Well, I have a counter to that. I checked out those links after I got the submittal from that Sylvia sent out, and they worked.
I'm looking at them right now. And neither one of them is any good. I can copy and paste and send you the copy of the page that the annual report link takes them to.
Well, we can probably go up to it in the agenda and click on it and see.
I was debating. Oh. No. Where was it?
It's at the very
Click in the
front.
main
all the way
body
up
of the
the right.
agenda.
Yeah.
I think that's page 4.
Yeah.
That's the Zoom link.
Yeah. Click on it and see where we go. Right there in the yellow. Or okay.
Oh, that was opening the Zoom meeting. So
Yeah,
that's-
you want to go down to the start of this section.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This one. Okay. And this is what popped up on my other screen.
And that is strange. I said, I don't know what is happening to me. I downloaded the packet directly from Sylvia. And I'll copy and paste the page that I've got and forward it to you for future.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to see our never-ending calendar. No, go away. So did
I
you
sent it to you.
email? Okay. Let's see. I think it'd be better if I did this. Sorry, you get the sneak peek here, Tom. Okay. Lewis. Where's the Jeopardy music when you need it? All right, and then let me find my Zoom again. Zoom. There you are. We will share a screen. And here we go.
Okay, let's see.
The one after we accomplish point 3, then from then on, the reports will be on an annual basis based on the fiscal year.
Correct.
Mhm.
Is that covered sufficiently in item 1? What we're addressing in items 2 and 3 are really this interim period.
Mhm.
You want to say that again?
After June 30, 2022, was supposed to be issued at the end of each fiscal year.
Will be issued annually?
Yeah.
District's financial reporting period. Thank you.
Or the district's audits reporting period. Because it's the performance too.
Not financial, but audits. But it is our financial.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the one you're worried about.
Don't mind the lack of capitalization. There we go. Now you can see them all.
Okay, item 4, after June 30th,
2022.
but it actually is after
Yeah, because they,
after the 2022 report, after the 2022 report, all reports will be issued annually following the district's financial reporting period.
All reports will be issued
Annually.
Isn't that there? Be issued, oh,
Whoops.
like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
After, in there should probably be a "the" there, right? After the 2020.
Yeah.
right. Okay. So the amendment is in item 2, brings its reporting periods in alignment by having the next annual report cover the 18-month period of January 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022, with a target date to approve by November 30th. Item 3, that a report on the results of the June 30th, 2021 financial and performance audits will be approved by June 30th, 2022. Is that correct?
Mhm. Yeah, it takes 9 months to get for them to
Okay.
give us that report on March 31st.
Okay. And then item 4, after the 2022 report, all reports will be issued annually following the district's financial and reporting period.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Do you want to do public comment before the motion or after the motion?
After the motion.
Okay.
So moved.
Sorry, you're gonna have the public comment on something after the vote?
No.
No, motion.
All right, thank you.
John, I so move. Or how about Tom doing it? It was making
Tom
your
did
idea.
move.
I'm
Okay.
second.
And what am I doing?
Seconding.
Seconding.
Huh?
Second the motion.
I'm seconding the motion. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, now discussion.
I see 4 hands.
Yeah, I gotta get my, I had to take down my view here to, okay, Sally?
I see where our path is clear to get a 2021 report and a 2022 report. And I'm wondering if in that number 3, if the report could be qualified as a compliance report, that a compliance report on the results of the June 30th, 2021 financial and performance audits be approved, or an annual report that includes a compliance report. Because I think I'm trying to get as close as possible to something that's required by law, or that goes along with our other annual reports. That, you know, that compliance statement is one of the most important parts, oddly enough. So anyway, that was my thinking in number 3.
So you would add you would say a report on the results of the June 30th, 2021 financial
Performance audits, including a compliance statement and a CBOC. I think it's a CBOC compliance statement.
yeah, including,
Mhm.
you want to add after audits, including a CBOC compliance statement.
Yes, because I can see in number 2 that 2022 report will include the compliance statement, and our 20 report included a compliance statement. And this short little report in number 3 should also include a compliance statement. Then I think we're probably on solid ground-ish.
Okay.
So here,
I did kind of wait to hear from Anton, but because I think he'd have something to say on that subject. That might be why he has his hand raised.
Anton,
I think Sally makes a good point, and I would support that. And I think what I see now in this proposal, it gets your report out, your annual report starting with the 2022 within 5 months. That alarm is to feed my dog. Within 5 months. And what it does in item 3, it gets your compliance statement out within 3 months after the audit report, which I think is very useful. And your item 4, I think is very useful because now it commits us to doing it on a fiscal basis going forward. So I think it's, I support what Sally suggested on adding compliance statement to item 3.
So how do we handle this? If Sally could just say that her section there, because we've already made a motion to pass this.
I think the maker of the motion would have to accept an amendment.
Okay, thank you. So that means Tom.
Tom says he accepts the amendment in case anybody missed the verbiage there.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do better on the microphone for Tom.
We'll work on it next month. I don't know why the owl is failing us, but we're
okay, so we have the amended motion up for consideration, and we have a further amendment to item 3. Are there any other comments? If not, we'll go for a vote. John,
do you need a second for the second for the amendment?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, can I second that also?
I'll second it.
Yeah. Good.
All right. So now we'll go for a vote. I vote yes. Lorraine,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes,
Jason,
Aye.
Maisha,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Good.
Motion carries 6 votes for, 0 votes against, and 1 absent. Okay, so now the last item, well, I have 2 other items that we need to consider here. Is election of officers for 2022.
oh no.
You gotta go back to the body of, well, gotta go back to the agenda itself. There we go.
We're getting there. There we go.
Okay, do we have any nominations for chairperson? I will consider staying on for as chairperson.
I will nominate John.
Second,
I second it.
I guess since I'm voting on myself here, I'll let, you want to call them?
Last year for the chairperson, they actually turned it over to the districts so that a third
Okay.
party ran the election.
Yeah, let's go ahead, Ellen.
Okay. So the nomination has been issued and seconded. Can I have a vote? starting with Lorraine.
Yes,
And John, do you want to abstain or you?
I'll say yes.
Okay, Maisha,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes,
and Jason,
I,
and Tom.
Yes.
All right, it's passed with 6 votes and 1 absent.
and with deep gratitude.
yes.
Thank you. And now, we need a vice chairperson.
Before we, in connection with that, I think we should say, John, how long are you going to be able to be the president?
Well, my term ends in June.
Okay, so you'll be here through June.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
My term ends in June. I'm not, there's some issues related to possible relocation and that would might come off in the latter part of the year.
Right. Well,
So-
just so that everybody knows, in June, we're going to have to vote for another
may
chair, after June, another chairman.
Yeah, we may have to vote.
Yeah,
That's a possibility.
right. And if that possibility helps, I'd sort of like a newer person to have the chance to be vice chairperson, to learn from you. It doesn't mean that they have to become the chairperson, but they would learn it and see if they would like to be it. Is there anyone who would be interested in doing that of the new people?
I see Sally raised her hand.
Yes, and I'd like to ask Jason if he would be willing, because if he is, then I would be happy to nominate him as the vice chair.
I cannot commit to that. I will remain just the building trades representative here on the board. I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm way too committed to lots of different things.
How
I'm
about,
not sure how much time does it require vice chair at this stage?
Well, my comment would be that it really is only the vice chair would substitute, in really chairing one of these meetings if the chairperson wasn't available.
Mhm.
That's really the only the most important role. I know that's been that hasn't been an issue, but it could be if if for some reason I've got a emergency of some kind, either related to work or family.
I understand that, but I'll just I'll remain the building trades person here.
Sally, you have some more?
You go.
Well, there's Maisha.
Oh, I have
Help
to.
us out, Maisha.
I would like to respectfully decline. However, if is a chair needed, a vice chair is needed. Is it mandatory?
We should have, like I say, I should have someone that can run these meetings in case I'm, out of pocket for whatever reason.
And as vice chair, you can learn Roger's rules, and you can learn about the Brown Amendment type thing in case you would have to do it. That essentially would be it.
Okay, I will accept the nomination from Miss Do It.
Great.
I'll second.
Jason seconds.
With deep gratitude.
Yes.
Thank you, Maisha.
All right, Ellen.
Oh, it's all back to you now. We just had to do that for the chair, I
Oh,
believe.
okay. So let's call the vote. I vote yes. Lorraine,
Yes, definitely.
Sally,
Yes.
Jason,
Aye.
Tom,
Yes.
and Maisha.
Hi.
Good, good job.
Okay, it's six, six approve, no, 0 no votes and 1 absent. Okay, thank you, Maisha. Now the other one is secretary. That's the way we've been operating here the last 9 months or so, is that staff has been putting, well, Sylvia has been putting the minutes together. And I have no problem continuing in that role, or with staff continuing to do that. Does anybody else have a comment? Lorraine?
No. I don't know if we have people who want to do it, tell you the truth, on the committee.
Sally?
Well, I would like to ask Tom if he would be willing to do it with support from Sylvia. Only because we're an independent committee. We're overseeing the district. We're overseeing the board. It's appropriate that we control our minutes. We can't look and feel like an independent committee if we're not writing our own minutes, or at least overseeing it.
Oh.
So that would be, in my view, an important role.
So let's just, I mean, I'm sort of highly committed. However, I mean, like, depending, I mean, I can certainly oversee the minutes, you know.
Yeah, I think that's what Tom, that's what I would say it is. That's kind of what I've been doing. I've been looking at Sylvia's drafts before, they go out into the consent agenda items. So it's not like writing the entire set yourself.
Okay, I'll accept the nomination.
All right. So we have a second.
I second it.
All right. I vote yes. Lorraine?
Yes.
Sally?
Yes.
Jason?
Aye.
Maisha?
Aye.
And Tom?
Yes.
All right. Again, 6 votes in favor, 0 no votes, and 1 absent. Okay, thanks. The last item I have I just will call for a motion to approve is the calendar. We talked about this last, and it really is, it's a list of really the second Monday in every month through the end of the year. And when I originally put this together, I checked it with the district's calendar, and it sort of lines up so that we don't have any holidays.
Good. Good.
So is there any discussion on this? Lorraine?
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Tom has his hand up.
Tom?
I'm just noticing that there's no mention of any joint meetings, and perhaps that will be happening next year. There will be a different president of the school board. Maybe they will be more amenable. Well, there could be, I don't know, there will be. There could be a different president of the school board. Perhaps that will be more amenable to joint meetings, but I'm just hoping that we can have joint meetings.
Well, my view for, yeah, I agree with you on that, but my view for now is that we can just set these dates for our meetings, and then if that does happen, hopefully we can either use one of these sessions or I think like we had the last time we had a joint meeting, which is the 1st of April. The school board has a date that they want to do it on.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So the way to look at this is that this is the schedule of our regularly scheduled meetings throughout the rest of the year. And do I have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second?
I second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? If not, we'll call for a vote. I vote yes. Lorraine,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes,
Jason,
I,
Aisha,
Aye.
Tom.
Yes.
We have six in favor, 0 no votes, and 1 absent. Okay, the last, so now I have just a couple of items on here for discussion. Sally, do you want to give a little update on the ad hoc committee?
John, I'm gonna be brief and just say that we haven't had a meeting. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if did we have a meeting since our last CBOC meeting?
Yes, we had one right afterward. And then this last meeting was canceled because of
Yeah.
illness.
Illness, yeah. Yeah. So, boy, I'm sorry. I'm not prepared to make a report on that meeting because it was several weeks ago.
I think the point we're at is that with what we accomplished at the last meeting and one more meeting, we may be getting pretty close to having a draft. I don't know whether Louis, you want to comment on that?
I think our last meeting was very productive. I think we've been preparing for the next meeting. It was unfortunate that Melissa fell ill last week when we had our scheduled meeting. So we have something we want to bring back to you, and we're prepared to do that once we get our next meeting scheduled.
Yeah, and I want to add on to that is that we've got an extensive list of reference materials that we're referencing in the policy, which I think is pretty complete, including the statutes, including the measures, the ballot measures, and things like that. And to define the relationship of the Bond Oversight Committee with the board. And I'm hopeful that it will come out looking like we have a Bond Oversight Committee that has the look and feel of an independent committee, not just in words, but in actual fact. And so I'm quite hopeful about that. And we won't know until we actually see the draft. That's what we're waiting for.
Yep. Okay, thanks. And then the last item I had was training, and I think we can defer maybe some of this till next year, but one thing I wanted to bring up with Lorraine, and I don't know if Anton's still on the call, relative to what's the CBOC got in the works for next year, early next year.
You mean, are we having another training session like we did this year?
Yeah.
Anton could answer that more. I would just like to make a typo correction here. It's not CACBOC. It's just CABOC, California Association of Bond Oversight Committees. Yeah, it used to be CalBOC, and now it's just CABOC.
Okay, thanks. I've been dealing with the Grand Jury Association.
Yeah. I know I haven't seen any training units on the website. They have a lot in the facts, which could be a source of information for us to do training on. Anton, do you know if you're planning another training seminar like you did this year?
Yes, we're planning one in April and in October. We also have a part of our strategic plan is to produce 5 to 7 minute videos on various topics, so that when you're waiting in the dentist's chair, you can go on your iPhone and look at a 5-minute training video and be calm before the dentist starts working. So that's our plan going forward. A lot of short videos up on YouTube, a conference in April and in October, and then we'll continue to produce the frequently asked questions. And we now have out for review right now for best practice a memorandum of understanding, and that went out to 2,500 folks for peer review, and that's in the works.
Great, great, good.
Okay.
Under my thoughts under training is that we need training. Just things like, now, Melissa, the planned due date for the phase 1.5 and 2 of the FAI was supposed to be December 31st. How are they on track for that?
So we're not going to be making the December 21 deadline for 1.5 or for 2, but we're currently working with both auditors on those audits.
When do you hope to, when is your next planned due date?
I expect that both of them will be complete prior to the annual compliance audits, performance and financial audits, which are due the end of March.
Good.
So early next year.
Great. Well, the reason I asked that is because I think we should get some FAI training. I mean, the whistleblower was in 2006, and not many of us were on the board even then. So I would like to plan some training for that, either in January or February, where we would bring in people like, we used to have a member of the board who is a partner in an audit company, a forensic audit company, and maybe to come in and tell us about it. We can see the background of it. We can know what to expect. Look at the audits from Moss Hart, the 1.0. He's going to be doing the 2.0, so the format should be similar. And so that's some training I'd like to plan. Another we should go through and find out, we don't have a handbook. We should find out what is in a handbook. A lot of people are saying, well, before I volunteer, what am I committing myself to? And a handbook would tell the different positions and what is needed. I'd like to see see if we could get Moss Hart to come in and train us, because they look at it once a year. Now, they are not working on the proficiency anymore, but they could train us what we should be looking at for the proficiency. What change orders what do we do with change orders? What do we do with other things? I'd like to do a site inspection and have somebody look up, what do you do for site inspection? Maybe Jason would like to do that and work out getting a site inspection. So there are a lot of training that we have to do. And these, if you have anything you want to, suggest, or if you'd like to be on an ad hoc committee to help get some training up, let us know. That's all I have.
Okay. With that, our next meeting will be January 10th, 2022. And I'd like to wish everybody happy holidays. And we will see you next year. And with that, I'll adjourn the meeting by unanimous consent.
Good.
Everybody, happy holidays.
Happy holidays, yes. You're doing great, Helen.